Really happy with how this is working. I would recommend this to anyone that wants to, do the compost thing in a way that's low budget, and you get sort of multiple products out of it. So you have the unfinished compost, finished compost, compost tea. Hey, it's Greg here with MaritimeGardening.com, and I thought I would do a quick update on how my composting system here is working, the one I devised last spring. So quick update on all of that. I've got a large 2,500 square foot garden here, backs onto a forest where we got black bears and raccoons and skunks and all manner of squirrels, chipmunks and such. All manner of beasts that loves getting into a compost bin. In previous years I've tried composting. Animals get into the compost, tear it apart, especially black bear. So my idea was to set up something like a vermicompost station, which is not supposed to make much of a smell, and put it in the center of my garden where it's not really close to the fence. So, I mean, there's still smells coming out of there, right? And I thought if it was close to the fence, it would attract animals, but if it's here, by the time the scent got to the fence, it's sort of wafted in with other things, and maybe it's not so strong. So, I mean, it's been an entire gardening season. We don't put any meat or anything like that in here, but basically all our, kitchen scraps. The odd week, my wife will put them in the green bin, as opposed to putting them here just because she forgets, because it's a new thing. But I would say 80 to 90% of our kitchen scraps have gone in this thing all summer long, and it has kept up with it. And this is just 2 storage containers from, I think, Home Depot, right? They fit into one another. They've got holes in the lids. See the holes, right? A hole in this lid, holes in the bottom, right? So, any sort of water from either, I let the rain just run through it. People have said, you shouldn't do that, you should do that. I just let it happen, right? The rain runs through, goes through, collects down here. Got this beautiful fertilizer I can throw on anything I want. If any plant looks like it needs a little pick-me-up, I can just put that in there. I don't know why there's a lot of waspy looking things around here. Hopefully they're not gonna set up shop there. That would not be good. But anyway, there's a fertilizer right there. The same way a vermicompost system would work for an indoor setup, which is not supposed to create a lot of smell. And I've experimented with it in my garage and that sort of thing. And I don't have the space in my garage for a setup like this. I suppose I could make the space, but it would be very crowded. And I'm sure at this size, it has some degree of odor coming out of it. Anyway, this has worked totally fine for keeping up with our kitchen scraps and turning them into compost. Moreover, whenever, I don't know, maybe once a week all summer long, my kids would be out here doing, any sort of weeding that needs to be done. All the weeds that came out of the garden would have gone into that as well. So let me show you some. Whenever it seems to get too full, like today, I'm going to be pulling some weeds out of the garden. So I just filled this back up again, and the bottom is absolutely full with which the stuff had been in the top. Right, so the top fills up. When the top's full, and I need space, I empty the bottom and refill the top. The stuff on the bottom is never completely done. But about once a month, I've basically pulled what's out of the bottom and put it somewhere, like side dressing plants and stuff like that. So, I mean, these collard greens are a perfect example. I think it was around some point in August. I can't remember. I made a video about it, I think. Anyway, these weren't looking so good. So I emptied out the bottom thing, side dressed the collards, put a nice mulch down. Basically, just raw wood chips. So, zero and almost negative nitrogen mulch. But I mean, look at the collard greens. Look how healthy they look, right? That's because I side dressed them. I got good soil, of course, but I side dressed them with sort of semi-finished compost. So let me show you what that stuff looks like. Right, so this is what we're talking about. This sort of semi-finished compost, right? So, of course, the eggshells haven't broken down, but there's plenty of resources on the internet you can see where people, bury an egg and they dig it up. It takes years for eggshells to break down. The idea that you know, putting eggshells in the ground will increase the calcium content in your soil is just preposterous. It takes a long time for eggshells to break down in soil, unless of course your soil is super acidic, right? But anyway, so everything else is pretty much, you know, broken down enough that I could call this, I wouldn't call this finished compost, but it's finished enough for me to put on a bed that's going to just lay there all winter long, right? So today that's what I'm doing here. I'm going to take off these all these sort of dandelion greens, or they're not, well, they're kind of dandelion-like plant, right? They were all growing there. I pulled them out, planted garlic, and just threw them over here. I'm just going to quickly rake them up, put them in the top of the compost thing, and throw all this brown stuff on top of there. I'm probably not even going to bother working in it. I'm just going to let it lay there, put a mulch on top, let it just percolate for the winter. All right, so that's, you know, once a month I can pull compost out of it at this level. Where I live, that's not bad, and that's lazy composting. I'm not turning things over. I'm not working with things, right? I'm just letting it sit there. Some people were concerned that the fact that they're black would make them too hot and kill worms. Every time I've dug into these things, I've found worms. Maybe not in August. I mean, the worms can leave, right? There's holes in these things. So, you know, if it's cold, the worms leave, or if it's hot, the worms leave. If the temperature is right, the worms just find their way in. That's just what happens, right? You know, when soil gets hot, worms go down. That's just what they do. Anyway, soil gets dry, soil gets hot, they go down to where it's cooler. They know it's cooler going down. So in these compost bins, my guess is that when it gets too hot, they just leave. But there's still all kinds of fungi and bacterial life and things like that that can still work when it's hot. So they break everything down, right? There's more to compost than red wigglers and whatever other thing people like to sell on the internet for compost. There's all, you know, there's billions of living things in soil that breaks it down, not just one thing. So as long as you've got a container full of stuff and it's not so hot that life can't exist in that container, compost will happen. And especially, I mean, even anaerobically, but certainly with a system like this where all the water can drain out, right? So everything's moist, but it's not anaerobic, it's not oxygen free. So there's air. There's enough air for things that need air to live, but it's moist enough that everything that needs water gets all the water it needs, and it works out just fine. So yeah, I just thought I would do a little, you know, update on how this system has worked. I'm really happy with this, and this was cheaper than any compost kit you can buy. I mean, I think these things were like, I don't know, $12, $14, something like. They were on sale, but I think they top out at 20, right? So at the very most, this would have cost 40 bucks, right? For this system. It's really heavy plastic. I really should have put, if I could do this all over again, if I could redo the summer, I would have put a piece of canvas over this just to keep it out of the sun. Not so much to keep it cool, but just to protect the plastic from UV, because UV breaks down plastic, right? Wears it out. So I'm going to set something like that up for the winter. I think I'm going to leave this out for the winter, and I'm playing around with ideas for some sort of teepee, some sort of structure that'll let light in and keep some of the heat in, so that during the sunny days in the winter, this can gather some heat and, you know, continue to compost. I haven't decided exactly how I'm going to work that all out. I might put some black bricks on the top to gather heat on top of that, but some sort of system that'll allow this to continue to work all winter long. I think I'm just thinking teepee because it's just about the easiest thing to throw together. Get some 6 mil poly, you know, clear plastic, rig up a little teepee like deal. I might go with something more elaborate. It really depends on how I'm thinking and the logistics of using it and so on, and how long it takes to make it and how much energy I have. But basically some sort of greenhouse, very temporary greenhouse type structure that goes over this, that conceivably, with the exception of the really cold part of the winter where it's like minus 20 Celsius. But, you know, a lot of our winter days where I live, they're like -5, -6, right? They're, you know, we do get into the low teens, right? I'm talking Celsius here. But a lot of our winter days are the single digit negative numbers. So with sun and with some sort of microclimate affected around the compost, I'm fairly confident that this will stay thawed out and continue to work. So that's an experiment I'm going to do this summer. That's sort of coming soon, the compost teepee. Anyway, that's just ideas I'm playing with at this stage. Really happy with how this is working. I would recommend this to anyone that wants to, do the compost thing in a way that's low budget, and you get sort of multiple products out of it. You have the unfinished compost, finished compost, compost tea, right? And all, you gotta get everything, right? And all you got to do is buy a couple storage containers and drill holes in the lids and in the bottoms. That's all you got to do. It's pretty easy. Anyway, just a quick video on how that thing's doing. Really happy with it. Hope you found this video interesting. If you did, please like, share, subscribe. And until next time, get out there, get at it, have fun in your garden. Thanks for watching. Hey folks, guess what? I've started a newsletter at maritimegardening.substack.com. I'll be putting out one article a week. That's 52 articles a year. The articles expand on ideas that I mention on my videos and podcasts, and every article has a read-aloud option, so you can just listen to me read it if you're busy doing something else. You can subscribe for $30 a year or try it for $5 a month and see what you think. It's a great way to help support everything I'm doing here, but hey, there's also free content too, so if you just want to read the free stuff, that's fine too. As always, get out there, get at it, have fun in your garden. Thanks for watching.